Hey, hello kids. Long time, no new video was made. So today we will be learning something interesting, this time in Scratch. So this is a Scratch video. And what you're going to learn today is the jump logic. We are going to learn how to make a character jump in Scratch. Now, jumping does not only mean that it will go up and come down. It will actually jump as if it's like, the way we jump in real life. We go up, we slow down, and you come faster, like a real object being pulled by gravity. So this also means we'll be writing some code. We'll be putting together the code blocks to simulate gravity. I mean, simulate is a very big fancy word. Simulate means to create the same effect like gravity on Earth. Okay, so we'll start with a completely empty project. No need to download any fancy sprites, etc. We'll create everything on the go. So without much talking, let's get started. I will. This is my Scratch screen, and there's just our little scratchy little cat which you can see on my screen. So the first thing that we will do is that we will write our favorite, very favorite starting block, the green flag pressed, and the forever, because without forever things will just stop immediately. Okay, now what we will do is we'll create a variable and we will call this speed. Now what is the speed? This is the vertical speed, how fast. So we'll call it vertical. If you know a little bit of Scratch, vertical means the y-axis and horizontal means the x-axis. So we will create the this variable which will only control the up and down movement. Okay, you will see in a bit how this will work. So right now the speed is 0. What we will do is that we will make it change the y according to the y speed. So y will change according to y speed only, right? So of course you would be knowing about this block called change y by speed. Okay, now if I press green flag, just take a pause and ask yourself what will happen. Change y by y speed. So when you see the speed y, replace the number that you see here over here. That's how variables work. Variables are named numbers which have a name and which can hold changing values. Change equal to vary in the word in English language. So changing number, varying number is variable. You see the connection now? Why is it called a variable? Because it can vary. Vary is the same as change. V-A-R-Y, vary. Now, if I do anything, take a pause and guess what will happen. Change y by y speed. What is y speed? Replace it, 0. Change y by 0 means it will stay in its place. Exactly. Now, what if I do if I change the speed? I'll use this slider thingy and I'll just say change y by 6. So what will happen? It'll just keep going up. Correct? But that's not what we want. We want that whenever you press the space bar or any key or on any event, it should go up. The event can change. So let's do this. Let's quickly put this code so that when you press the space bar, the speed changes to y. The sets become set to 4 or 5. So let's go to the variable section. We'll set it. We are not changing it. We're going to set it because we want it to be a fixed value. Set variable to 5, and on pressing the space bar, you are smarter than me, so you know this is how it is done. So this I don't need to explain to you. So now the little scratchy is in the middle of the screen. I press spacebar, it goes up. But jumping means it should come down, no? If on every jump, if suppose on real life he started flying up, it would be so much fun. Have you seen that movie Flubber? The old one also. I mean, when I was small, the old movie was there. I was so fascinated that there's a car which is flying all the time, and the new movie Flubber with Robin Williams in it. So this car is just flying all the time, and the basketball players are like jumping in the sky. Unfortunately, real life is not so interesting. Real life is boring. Whatever goes up comes down. Somebody famous said. I don't know who it was. I think it was some very famous person. Whatever goes up comes down. It's very simple. So how do you make it come down? Okay, what we will do is now to come down, the speed has to go negative. It has to keep going down. How will that happen? Should we immediately set it to negative? Otherwise, if you do that, it will never go up. So what we'll do is the moment you press the space bar, we will put it into a state. State as in we'll say, okay, this guy is now jumping. Okay. And if it is jumping, only then you reduce its speed. Otherwise, don't reduce. Otherwise, it will start falling into the ground. Right? So now we'll create a variable. We'll call it is jumping. This is a Boolean variable. We are in Scratch. We only have one type of variable. I mean, either you can put strings or numbers, but when you go to a different programming language like Python, C Sharp, every different use of a variable will be used by a different data type. Let me not confuse you with it, with this, but this number is going to be used like a switch. Is it on or is it off? How can you do on, off, on, off? If it is 0, it is off. If it is 1, it is on. And that is the basis of all of computer science, zeros and ones. Okay, so this variable will call the state variable. And what now, you tell me, what values can state take? Either 0 or 1. Either state is jumping or static. So the variable initially is going to be 0. So 0 you understand in your mind, we can't really write it. In other languages, in C Sharp, Python, Java, you can actually say state equal to jumping. Okay, but we won't go into that right now. Think in your mind, when you say state equal to 0, that means the Scratchy is not jumping. Now what we will do is, when the Scratchy starts jumping, we will set the state to 1, and based on this we will do something. What we'll do, we'll reduce the speed. So isn't this super simple if you think about it? That when I'm jumping, only when I'm jumping, I should reduce my speed. When I'm static, I should not reduce my speed. But how would I know I'm static? Initially, you will be static. But when you jump and you come down, how will you know you're static? That is when you touch something. When I touch that something platform, which we will create now, I'm static. So we'll just say if touching platform, state equal to static or 0. So now we will say if, now we'll check if the state is actually equal to 1. If the state equal to 1, then reduce the speed. Now what does reduce mean? Decrease it. Decrease is the same as change. Decrease and increase both can be put in the same use the, indicated with this, indicated or rather encapsulated is a very big word, let's not go there. Or both can be described by the single word change. If it is in the positive number, if it's a positive number, then it's increase. If it's changing by a negative number, then it's decrease. So we'll change it by a negative number because we want to decrease it. So let's say minus 0.1. We don't want to decrease it too much, otherwise it will go down very fast. Okay, wait, catty, where are you going, you little scratchy, little naughty cat? Stop. Say that. Come down. Come. Yes, coming down. It's falling. Hey, don't! You'll die there, little cat. You'll die there. Don't go there. Okay. So a cat is now jumping. Only thing is, it's a bit slow. I agree. So let's make it fast. How's that? Is that really so difficult? Let's increase the speed to say 8, the initial speed. Okay, initial velocity also. You learn all of this in physics. Initial velocity, and then there's an interesting formula called S equal to ut plus half at square. Very useful formula. But this all is very common sense. Okay, now we'll see if the effect is a little. No. So one thing we need to ensure is we always start with zeros. Set speed y to 0. Set state to 0. So we're always in the jumping state. Oh, sorry, static state. That is the initial first thing that we will do. Hey, come back, little cat. Where do you hide? Real cats also do like that. They'll go and hide in some corner, and then you have to put them out with their ears or something. Okay. Have you had a cat or a dog you want to have? It's a very fun creatures, but you have to take care of them. Your parents will have a very tough time feeding them, taking them to vet. So better think about it before you ask your parents to get a pet for you. If you have it, then very good. Now it's looking a little better. I think the speed can increase a little bit. So this is what programming is about. You do something, then you try to make it better. That's called iterative. Okay, very big word, iterative. Simple thing, do it again and again. There's one more simple phrase for it. Try until you succeed. Okay. If at first, yeah, it's the, what is that? If at first you don't succeed, try again. So our first jump did not look so good. Even the logic can be wrong for you sometime when you implement. So try again, think about it, try again, think about it, try again, do it fast, and you get a nice jump. So I will recommend, don't copy this video, try to understand it and implement the jump completely on your own. Okay buddies, so now let's see if our cat is a little better. Yeah, it's better. I think it can go even better. I'll increase the speed y to, and also we need to set its position back to 0. So what is the middle of the screen in Scratch? It's 0. Simple. So simple. But stop! Again went to the corner. So now is the time to create the ground. And I'm not very bad at drawing. I'll just create a very simple ground. You can download ground sprites from the internet and so many things you can do. But I'll just create a simple, silly little ground which is just like a square. Okay, come on, you groundy thingy. Okay, that's a ground. Let's bring the ground down and see our cat, the naughty thing, is gone and hidden behind some. Come out. Hey, catty scratchy, come out. Yeah, let's get a platform here. I think it's better to make it a little bigger to cover the entire platform and color. You never have a violet ground, no? What if all the ground was violet? Your school ground is violet. So much fun. Okay, let's fill it up with some ground-like color. Brown, 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 brown. Yeah. And then let's do the fill. The bucket to fill up. Okay, now let's pull this thing out. Convert to bitmap. No, you don't want to do that. How do you pull this out? How do you make this bigger? Okay, let's try this. Convert to vector only was better. Okay, anyway, I think that's let's all just see. So nobody needs to be perfect. You can try and you can fail, no problem. So I failed with this dragging it into a bigger shape. I should have made a bigger shape in the beginning itself, but now it's not letting me resize it. So how do you do this? Okay, no problem. I think I'll just make it bigger and push it into the ground. There are always so many ways of doing things. So now I have got a ground kind of thing. See, the rest of it is hidden. My job is done. Whether I could pull it out or I could just make it bigger and pull it down. My job is done. Now, when does it go into the static state? When it very simple. I'll let you think about it. What code will we write so that this guy will not go down? Think. So if we change the state, imagine if we change the state, this change by speed, the speed will stop reducing. And then we also have to do one thing. We have to make the speed y 0. Both of these things we have to do. So very simple. What we'll do is, if it is what? Touching the ground. And let's call it the ground instead of sprite 2. So simpler. Always keep things simple because you have so many things will be there in the code. It's better to give proper naming. Otherwise, you can get very confused. So if touching the ground, if touching ground, then state equal to 0, correct? And then also our speed also will become speed y equal to 0. Okay, so if it is in state 1, yeah, if it is touching the ground, okay, let's see whether this works. Even I'm not sure. Yay! But problem, I'm pressing the key again, but it's not taking it. Why? Because if it is touching the ground, then it will always be in state 0. Did you see? It will never let you go to state 1. So it should, if it is in the state 0, okay, and you press the space bar, then the speed should increase and the state should change. Okay, so right now what are we doing? So if it is touching the ground and the state is and it is in the state 0, only the yeah, wait, so what I'll do is I will use an operator, and if touching ground, well, let me just reduce the zoom level. Yeah, this can get a bit tricky. If it is touching ground, yeah, so if it is touching the ground and you press the space bar, if it is in state 0 and you press the space bar, then it goes to state 1. Okay, actually if we can bring it here also, it may get solved. Yeah, yeah, it's working. So you know what, so this is a very interesting point. Why did this work before and why not earlier? Because the code was arranged in such a way, if you see, that if I press the space bar, it went into state 1. If it is in state 1, if it is then touching the ground, right, because it is touching the ground, because still it is, the movement has not started. If it is touching the ground, then it will again bring it back to state 0. So the code to bring it, to make it jump should be after this code. Okay, see, again, I'm not saying this is a perfect code, but this is one of the ways in which you can do it. But our jump is done. But of course, you should try to always write code which does not so change so easily. Like if you just change the order of the blocks, the code stops working. The code should not be like that. So this is not very good code, I admit. So let's try to improve it. So what we'll say now is, if it is, as long as it is, so form the code always in your mind in English or Hindi or Telugu or Marathi or Kannada, Bengali. I can't keep saying all the languages. Think in your language and write code in Scratch, Python, C Sharp. Your thought should be absolutely clear. Now, what is our problem right now? The cat, when it is touching the scratchy, the sprite, when it is touching the ground, it is always going into state 0. So we are not letting it jump at all. So what we will do is, we need to add a disclaimer or an additional condition, that if it is in state 0 and you press the space bar, then it goes into the next state. Okay. So, so what we'll say is, if it is touching the ground, so this actually can be an else if. Am I thinking it right? So let me think. If it is touching the ground and we press the space bar, sorry, if it is in state 0 and we press the space bar, then it should go to the jumping state. Otherwise, correct. Otherwise, it should stay in the same state. Okay. So we'll instead of an if then, see how I came up with the logic on the fly. I didn't think of this before. I just thought in English and the logic came out. Okay. So if it is touching the ground, so let's put this part in the else. If it is touching the ground, okay, yeah. As long as it is touching the ground and you press the space bar, then it will go into the next state. What is the next state? State 1. And is it getting too confusing for you? So just look at it in English terms. Think about it in a normal language. Think about it as a normal language rather than thinking about it in these orange, yellow blocks. Even though they are very simple to understand, they can get a bit difficult. I mean, they can get a bit hard to understand. So as either it is touching the ground or it is jumping. If it is jumping in the air, one means it is in the air. If it is in the air, then we bring it down. Otherwise, if it is touching the ground, then its speed and state speed y and the state is 0. And if it is touching the ground and we press the space bar, then it goes up in the air. I think that sounds like a reasonable logic. Let's just test it out. Another problem, the problem, what happened was, it's not touching the ground yet. So the jump should start from the ground itself. That's correct. That's not a problem with the code. That's the way I wrote it. Okay. So it should not go to 0, 0, right? See the number of mistakes I'm making. It's not like it's either good or bad, but that's a natural process. You make mistakes, you learn. You make mistakes, you learn, and then you do something. That's I'm just showing, trying to show you, while showing you how to jump, is how to think and how to do things. And in this process of doing things this way, by making mistakes, you learn better. And it takes a bit more time, but you definitely learn better. So I would encourage you to do all of this yourself. Think on your own. Just watch this video for some time, maybe 1 or 2 times, and try to do all of this yourself. Make mistakes, that's fine, but learn from it and take a small step forward. Done. Okay, so high five on that. And then that's the video for this time, guys. Thanks for watching, and I hope you will learn the fact that learning from mistakes is a normal thing. Making mistakes is normal, but you have to improve. You have to go one step further. Also, I hope you understood that gravity in real life also works in a very similar way. It pulls you down and it keeps making you go faster and faster. If you drop a ball from the ninth floor, it will go very fast. It will be very fast when it touches the ground. When you drop a ball from the first floor, it will just be very slow, because a constant force will always cause your speed to be more and more and more in whatever direction it is acting. All right, so thanks for watching, guys, and thanks for watching. And of course, the magic, I'll say the 3 magic words: like, share, subscribe. Thank you.